Oh, I'm getting excited. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Don't mind me. I'm just using my ratchet backwards, loosening things I shouldn't be. Alright, so what we have here basically is, I was after a budget. Alright, a budget build. With discounts on items, I meant $330. You know, some of these I purchased the yearly subscription, so it's important that you know that, and that you can save good money with Harbor Freight. A video on this. So, basically, we have the 4-drawer from Harbor Freight. It's pretty standard. You can pick them up for 150 bucks. The instructions are a little unique. Nonetheless, I feel that anyone that's buying these toolboxes should be able to put these together. Without wasting any time, the great thing about it is you're gonna need your 10mm. For you guys that don't have spares, backups, or lose them, I would make sure you can source your 10mm before you start. What I have to do is I got 4 wheels. You're gonna mount the handle on the side of your spinners, or you don't have to if you don't want to. That's your choice. What I did is I had 2 bags of hardware, and I just went ahead and threaded the bolts into the nuts on one side, and that bag also came with 4 regular locking. Okay, but then the other bag came with the smaller screws. Okay, again, they're all going to be either your flathead or your Phillips. Okay, and then it also came with all the washers. You're gonna have enough washers for each one of them small ones, and then I just left my nuts in the bag, so they can't run away from me this time. I finally have control of my nuts. I'm going to keep control of my nuts. You know, you just shove the bolt in through the bottom, put them all in. I have 4 here. I have to tighten them down. These spin, so you're gonna want to make sure you stick your Phillips or your other choice of tool up in there. I'm doing everything kind of on my chest. Other things that'll work really good is the styrofoam that they have in there if you don't want to scratch up your box. The styrofoam that's in there, or something like this, and you just set it down and you can stand this up on it. It gives you a little bit more room to work with. Lining each one of these up, once you have all 4 in the holes, then you can go ahead and tighten. I'm just using quarter drive here. Doesn't take a lot of Phillips pressure. Get them all snug first, and then come back and give them some good torque if you want. Remember, these bolts are smaller. All it is a locking nut, 1 flat washer on that same side, and then your bolt that passes through. So I'm going to show you how I did this one. I just thought I would give a how to assemble one of the carts, because they're pretty much both going to be, the 4 and the 5 drawer are going to be pretty much the same on assembly. The 5 drawer is just a little bulkier. It's deeper. It's a big thing. It's 22 inches deep. This is only an 18-inch. The 4 drawer is only 18 inches deep. Okay? So that's how I did this one wheel, and I'll get back to you when we're starting to assemble the next step. After trying to roll this around a little bit, I thought I'd just give you a quick update. That as I hold it on my lap like this, it's about the best way to get them all started. Because on its side, the wheels are going to want to run away on you, and it's not going to work out for you very well. That's why I kind of started originally with it on my lap. I've assembled one of these before, but I thought I'd just give you that quick tip that this is probably going to be the best way to start all your bolts. Alright, once you have your 4 casters mounted, you got your base, and then they're going to start pushing you into putting the arms on the base, okay? And then putting the supports within the arm. You have 2 bags of hardware. Well, the small one will have an extra nut, bolt, and washer, just in case you lose one of your others. So basically from here on out, assembly with these. And I'll give you a close-up. It's a ridged nut here, simulates a lock once you dig into something. And these, they got the square head on them. So when they countersink, they hold. Because when you look at the instructions, it's not super clear. But your rods here, let's bring this up. This point is not directly in the middle. Even my eyes can tell you that. You're going to want it higher. On the picture, it even kind of gives an illusion that it's a little bit higher as well. So that's the only thing you really got to pay attention to there. I'll get right back with you as soon as we got some hardware in the holes, alright? To assist you in removing any confusion on what I mean by where this hole is, between the top and the bottom, make sure that they all come out of the box aligned so you can all see the hole on them. And be sure to install them with the hole closer to the top. I want to touch on this while we're here. I'm installing this hardware, like I said, it's only finger tight. Everything's only going to be finger tight. All the hardware, as far as the bolts go, they come from the outside and they go in. They have to be assembled this way, and you'd want them that way anyway for good look. It makes the box and the assembly look a lot cleaner, but all the pieces that have that square part for the bolt to hold the bolt for you, because it has no head, is built into the outer piece. It's not going to work very well for you if you go backwards. These bolts, they require the square piece that we talked about earlier, these square holes. Every bolt requires a square hole to function correctly. So, as I'm digging through my parts here, I've managed to find two things that were basically more or less damaged at the factory. On my twisting casters down here, I was spinning one and I noticed that, honestly, it sounds like they're missing a ball bearing in there. You can roll it partial way or tilt it like said, and you can hear the ball bearings rolling around inside there on their own. Either not enough grease, or they flat missed one in it. It really does sound like they missed a ball bearing. The other one sounds really good and really clean. Moving on to my support brackets here, I decided to grab them and get a good look at them. And if you look closely here, when they were assembling this with the bubble wrap, they bent in this bar on accident because there was too much bubble wrap piled up right here. So this curves in and it's bent, and it's supposed to be nice and straight like these two on this side. No big deal. I'll just go ahead and straighten that out with some pliers. Alright. Now I've straightened this, like I said, it's not going to be too big of a deal. On these rails, the instructions show you that you're going to want these tabs in and up. Alright? In and up. Let me get the rest of these rails installed. As you can see how I'm doing it here. Remember, all your nuts are still hidden. We're all still hand tight on everything. Now that we're this far, they do suggest that you have a partner help you with the box when setting it up there. You're going to want to tighten up this hardware before you set the box up there. These are 1/2 inch. All this hardware can be done with a ratchet and an extension. Small extension, smaller ratchet. You can get some good torque on these bolts. I recommend it. Your caster bolts, they're a little bit different. You're not going to be able to get as much torque as you feel you want on them, but they honestly shouldn't run away from you either. But let's get back to you after I've set this box on top. And again, it's going to be a little tricky for me. If you've got a friend nearby, it makes it a whole lot easier to try and line up this box. What you want to check is that your beams sit in your grooves there. Down here, your tabs here are visible and your box is not resting on them. And on the back, it's the same thing. You don't have a groove back there, but you do have a groove right there. If you notice, most of my bolt holes, they're lined up enough that we're gonna go ahead and make it through the rest of this and set you guys in the next position. Once you've got your box in, it is important to go ahead and do your corner hardware. Remember I spoke earlier, it's a little rough getting in there. Back here, if you had installed your ram, you'd have that much of a problem. We do want to set our box, we do want to bolt our box, and then we want to do our shocks later. Very, very carefully lay this over out of your way so you can at least get the majority of your bolts done, and then work on your backside ones. All right. Another quick hint here. When you're assembling this hardware on the corner, it is easier to do the bottom first. That way, the top's not in your way while you're trying to just spin tighten these on. Now that I've gotten all my hardware hand tight on the corners, I will tighten them down now with one of two, whichever's easiest. It's almost critical back here. When this is bothering you and you've stuck your bolt in there, if you don't get the bottom one down there first, the rest are kind of in your way if you're going after that one last. Okay, so let's get these tightened up now, and I'll get right back with you. I'm really interested in using a ratchet for all this if I can manage. So I went ahead and threw a wobbly on there, and I'm going to hold about where the wobbly is when I'm tightening these. Now that I'm back with you, my cart's rolling around pretty good here. These are your lockers for your drawers. So the only way you can open these drawers is if these are up. your lid, when you close it and you lock your main lock, holds these down. And at that point, you're not allowed to open your drawers. So that's how this is a locking tool chest, which is pretty nice. This section usually goes up. So these are going to mount like this. You throw this one on. Those look like these are going to spin on me. And it does look like we just brought another wrench into play. A metric wrench on the other side. Let's see, 12. That's right. Okay. Be very careful with this. They're not designed to hold basically what this is doing. And you can kind of hear it was angry at me. It creaked a little bit when I picked it up. Go ahead, grab it on both sides when you bring it up. Also, when you go to lay it back like that, go very slow. Hold both sides. I'm going to make sure that I tighten these fairly tight. Before you really reef on one side or the other, I do suggest you get a little bit of support out of both of them. Again, this backing plate is just a lid. In my opinion, it's fairly flimsy. You did just buy the cheapest box that Harbor Freight had to offer. But this stuff's pretty strong. For the money I paid for this, you can't go wrong for having yourself a box like this. Again, I'm going to make sure those are pretty firm, because if this lid goes up and down often in your shop, because you like to lock it or you travel in the back of your pickup, you're going to want to make sure you're fairly tight. The same thing with any pivot points. They tend to loosen up. It is a lock nut. You got that going for you. This handle on the bottom one. That's not going to be a problem, guys. We can go ahead and pop those out now that everything's tightened down. I'm sure those will go right back in their hole. This is only my second box I ever assembled. I bought my dad the yellow one. Beautiful box. His favorite's kind of yellow. I went with blues, you can tell in the background there. You guys have probably looked over a couple of times to look at it. I'm restoring a beautiful square body. That's good and snug. Now, same thing with this. We just talked about this as a pivot point, so go ahead and give her more juice than you think. If I'm going to be constantly pushing this cart around, and I've got these two bolts holding it, I don't want them to come loose. Ain't nobody got time for that. There's a maintenance period. They don't give you a time. To each their own. When your stuff starts jiggling, you might want to go through and tighten your hardware. Now your keys, let's just say, I guess a friend could have access, because you get 4 keys. Make sure all my drawers are in. Can't lift it, can't pull them out. That's the idea. This is it with a handle. I bought this. And if you look close, they change out the hardware, give you a spacer. So basically, you can only have this on the opposite side of your handle, or remove your handle and you can have 2 of these. I'm gonna set you guys up here. I'm gonna install that. And I'm going to install the rest of the goodies I bought with this to try and complete a box. I'm going to install a few other key things too, so when I get back with you, it's going to look fairly complete. And I want it to kind of surprise you at how many bolt-ons you can put on these things. It only has so much capacity. I'm going to be a little tricky and see if I can't get a little bit more out of it just because of magnetics. I think we about touched on it. Maybe it's time to go get some parts for...
In conclusion, children. In conclusion, children.
All right, you guys.
Anyway, I
fix
showed
that.
you how to do it.
Okay, yep. Not the way you were flattening
was I
the.
supposed to be watching?